drinking, Chris?
I'm high class tonight.
Are live on the internet. This is USfanTV.
Welcome, internet.
Welcome.
Before we get started with the soccer talk, I'd like to share something that happened to me today. So I ordered a shirt for my wife, who it's her birthday today, so happy birthday. I ordered a shirt for her a while ago on the Amazon. I was supposed to get like the 2-day shipping with Prime. And instead of the little women's shirt that they were supposed to send, they sent Merry Rexmas in like a 2XL.
I think that's not your shirt.
Well, it turns out I got on there tonight, and they're like, "Yeah, you can keep the shirt. That's yours now. We'll just send you another one." So it is my shirt. So Merry Rexmas to you all. Let's start with
And a happy Tyrannosaurus year.
let's start with the guy who has the same haircut as me, Bradley Guzan. Reports are today he wants to come back to MLS, and I don't really blame him because he's not playing at Middlesbrough. And it just so happens that also today there were reports that Sean Johnson of the Chicago Fire was going to be going to his hometown of Atlanta to play. It all seems to be flowing into place for Brad Guzan to be joining the Fire, except for the fact that the Fire can never successfully sign any big name. So what do you guys think? Is Brad coming back to MLS, and is he going to land with the Fire, or is he going to go somewhere else?
I'll start with this one. First question is, did Brad Guzan start in MLS?
I don't hear you, TJ.
Oh, shit. Let's try this. All right.
Something about did Brad Guzan start in MLS?
Did Brad Guzan ever play in MLS?
Yeah, he played for Chivas.
Yeah, Chivas USA, wasn't it?
Okay. I don't know.
The worst team in MLS.
Yeah, well, back then.
I just meant period, because it's Chivas. So.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think Brad Guzan's from Chicago, so if they can get this done, if there's one they can get done, this one seems like it should be a little easier for them. That said, this is the Fire.
It is the Fire.
Well, I mean, he's from Chicago. He comes back here and lives here in the off season. He has friends here. So there have been other guys in a similar situation that they've messed up, though. But I can see them. I can see them getting this done if they're willing to pay. I assume that Brad's going to say, "I want a DP contract with big money like Tim Howard got." I don't know that Brad's the same level of household name that Tim Howard is, and I don't know if he sells tickets quite like Tim Howard does, but
He doesn't.
He's as close to Tim as it gets without being Tim, probably in MLS. So, or among American goalkeepers, I'd like to see it. I'd like to see it. You know, selfishly, I'd like him to come to the Fire so I can watch him. But if he wants to go somewhere else, and one of our best commenters, Crew HD Videos, wants him to go to Columbus, I can see that. Both teams need a goalie, but especially if Sean Johnson's out the door to Atlanta, as the report was today for Chicago. I'd like to see it, but more than anything, since I don't expect the Fire to ever sign anyone ever again, I would just like to see him come back to MLS if that means he's going to be regularly playing, which I think he needs, because I just don't like the idea of our number one sitting on the bench somewhere.
Well, and I'll take it a step further. I think the Fire would probably be a better home for him if he's looking to play, because Lord knows their defense can't stop anybody, so he will get plenty of action practice.
He's going to get lots of shots. Yeah, I mean, certainly it works for him. I have trouble believing that the Fire would be willing to actually pay someone enough money, the kind of money that he's probably going to expect, when realistically he could still go to like the championship or something. I'm sure he can find a side somebody that would make him the starter. So I struggle to believe that it could be more than maybe a loan. I mean, as a loan, I could see it. It certainly makes sense in like for our reasons. You know, certainly we want him out there, we want him playing, and right now that's the closest thing he's going to get. And it fits with, you know, Bruce Arena's comments the other day about he's not the guaranteed number one, and say he comes in a loan deal in January, he's going to get probably playing time in the January friendlies. Then he's going to go into MLS warmups and hopefully then be playing come March. At least I have to assume that's sort of his thought process if he is seriously considering it.
I'm going to take the other side of that. I don't know if he'll get designated player money from the Fire. Not that they're being cheap. If they get the other two targets they're looking at, which is Schweinsteiger and Nikolic, that's going to take the two designated player spots they have.
Yeah.
However, they do have a ton of allocation money that they keep stockpiling, and they seem to be using it relatively wisely, like Michael DeLue and so maybe. I don't know if they can do it, but it doesn't. But if the numbers on Schweinsteiger are right, they're apparently not afraid to spend the money. Although it is a Fire, so it's hard to tell what's true and what's not. I think there's a point though. If he's been playing in England but he's from Chicago, he keeps coming back to Chicago. If he can get a decent payday, why would he not want to come home if this is where he wants to be long term anyway? I mean, I can see why you wouldn't want to go to Columbus. But that's but then again, the Fire in Bridgeview. Yeah, never mind. I just lost that argument altogether. But
your mic is fading.
Yeah, TJ, we're not hearing you too well there, bud.
All right. Well, I don't know.
So
let me try a different plugin. Hang on here.
Okay. Yeah. Wherever he lands, I want him to be playing. That's really my main concern.
Yeah.
All right. Here, is this any better?
That's
much better.
considerably better.
Okay.
I'm sure you had valid and good points, but I don't think anybody really heard them.
I heard them.
Did you
they
guys?
Were terrible, as to be expected.
That game last night. We wanted to do this immediately after the Poutine derby last night, but YouTube had other ideas. So we're on tonight. I'm still thinking about that game. I believe it was the best MLS playoff game I've ever seen. I know Chris hates Canada and everything about it, but the atmosphere was, I think, better than anywhere. That includes Portland and Seattle that I've seen. I'm excited to see this team in the MLS Cup final, and Jozy's performance last night was out of this world. Jimmy Conrad pointed out that this recent uptick in form by Jozy coincides with him switching to the old school Adidas Copa Mundials. Is it the kangaroo leather that's causing?
It's got to be the Kangaroos.
I don't know. The only one I ever thought that wore kangaroos that was any good was Walter Payton. So, Pat, I couldn't agree with you more though. In terms of MLS, the atmosphere last night was amazingly loud. It was from beginning to end, and even Montreal really was loud when they're hosting their leg, despite the fact that they can't measure the field properly.
Right. Yeah. There is that.
It is Canada. I mean, what's the exchange rate on that? Like 18 yards is what? 12 and a half or something in Canadian?
Apparently so.
Canada land?
Yeah, apparently that's. But Jozy was definitely best man on the field last night for both teams. No question about it.
The defending was atrocious.
Yeah, the defending was some of the worst I've ever seen. I think I was going to say one. What?
It was wet, but still, it was still that bad that it stood out.
That doesn't account. That doesn't account for not marking people. Like just completely leaving people unmarked in the box. That has nothing to do with weather.
But that said, part of I think was now the part of the reason why Toronto isn't defending is because they're chasing the game. They need goals, so they're throwing numbers forward. Especially the first half, it seemed like the entire first half was on Toronto's end except for once, and that was Montreal's goal. But the rest of it was Toronto pressing, getting men in the attack. And when you're going to do that, you're going to leave yourself open to numbers against. And it took like a minute into the second half, and next thing you know, Montreal's, we're going to show up now. We're going to play and see what we can do. And from then on, it was wide open because I think, and you guys have both played the game long enough, you get tired defending. And I think that's what the defenders, especially at Montreal, got tired. Next thing you know, it's wide open and game on. That said, the one I really want to talk about was that second goal off the corner kick from Giovinco off of Jozy's head.
Oh my God!
You can't plan that any better. It's you go there, I will put the ball there, and then Jozy's header. And I've played goalie for years. Down onto the ground on a wet field like that, I'm sure it looked like John Bush got screened for just a second, and next thing you know, you got a near post goal.
Yeah, I mean, normally I'll fault a goalie for getting beat the near post. That thing was inch perfect. I mean, that was a perfect shot on Jozy's part. I said last night on Twitter, that was the finest header I've ever seen him make, much less score. And I'll say overall, that was the finest MLS game I've ever seen, or at least the greatest MLS game. I won't say the finest because the defense was shit, but that was next to it was Sounders Galaxy, I think last season, when they had like 5 goals in the first 20 minutes or something. It was like the most ridiculous game I've ever seen, but it was super exciting because I don't care which team wins, so all I'm getting to watch are goals. It was sort of like that. Like, I don't really care which team wins. I mean, I'd like to see Bradley and Altidore make it, but who's the guy at right back for Toronto who might get called into camp?
Is that Betishar? Not Betishar.
No.
Or however you pronounce that. Sorry.
Whatever. I could look it up in a second here, or whatever. It'll come to me. But either way, for that reason, I guess, sure, I'd like to see them win. But either way, realistically, I don't care which team. I didn't care which team won that game. So it was just kind of fun to see all the goals. Knock off or discount the defending, and I won't call it the finest game because of that, but it's got to be. I think this is the greatest MLS game I've ever watched. Like, it was exciting. The atmosphere was great. The fans were great. And yeah,
how about we go? How about the words most entertaining?
That's what I was gonna say. Most entertaining.
That'll work.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not the greatest, but. Or I'm sorry, it's not the finest, but I'll call it the greatest. I mean, not the finest because the defense was not there. But I don't think it has to be great defense to have a great game.
And we've got MLS Cup coming up in Toronto on December 10th. We've got another great franchise with great fans that are going to be trying to come out in full force, even though they're way out on the West Coast in Seattle. The Toronto fans are going to be, if they can cheer in that cold November rain. Props to you, Axel. They can cheer in, whatever it's going to be in a week, probably, 10 feet of snow in Toronto in a week. But yeah, it's insane. I can't wait for MLS Cup, and I haven't been this way in a while, but I really can't wait to see this. You've got, Jordan Morris on one side, you've got Jozy and Bradley on the other side, and Javinko, and the win one for Deuce that Seattle's going to be trying to do. I'm excited, and I'm happy to say that.
Does anything last forever?
Well, we both know hearts can change.
Does anything last forever? Shirley MacLaine.
Before that game, Bruce Arena was on with Alexi Lalas and Rob Stone, and I don't know if you guys noticed this, but he seemed to be going really out of his way to praise MLS and talk about how great MLS is, and to say that MLS guys are going to be a big part of his team. Obviously, this is to sort of make up for the animosity built by Klinsmann, but I think it's a good thing. I mean, Jurgen was always right. Players do need to be testing themselves at the highest level they can, and for most people, that's Europe. But I hated the way that Klinsmann crapped all over the league for so long, because I think part of being successful as a national team is building a strong domestic league, and he didn't seem to be interested in doing that. So I thought it was good from Bruce.
I thought, if I recall correctly, Bruce Arena 1.0, he did lean on MLS extensively. And I also remember Bruce Arena 1.0 saying, yes, you need to be, basically you do need to play at the top, but you need to play. You need game minutes. Sitting on the bench for a top team isn't going to cut it. You need to have game minutes. And if MLS is the highest you're going to play, then get out there and play, that you're going to play regularly.
Right.
Than sitting in somebody's training center full time and maybe getting a reserve game here and there. You need to get out and you need to play. You need to play in front of an atmosphere that gets you ready for games that you're going to face.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I mean, in the end, it may not be the highest caliber, but almost every team we play against, or every team around the world, not every player on that in their starting 11 plays the highest caliber in the world. Even Argentina has a few guys sometimes who aren't playing in a top league in the world. So you're out there at least. I mean, it's sort of like Guzan. I'm still not sure that MLS is the best place for him, but for the time being, if it means he's playing, it's a place for him. And not to, go full circle here, I guess. In the end, if nothing else, it's game time. It's him actually performing then, and actually stopping shots. So it's going to pay off somewhere.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that's right. I'd rather somebody play in MLS than sit. Maybe you could make a case if the guy like Julian Green is with Bayern, you could make a case that it's better for him to be with Bayern in that environment, in those training sessions, with a chance to crack into the starting 11 before his most recent injury. I could argue that for a guy that young, I'd rather him be there. But for a lot of guys, I'd definitely rather them be in MLS playing than being, in Europe practicing, essentially. So another thing that Bruce said that I thought was pretty interesting, I heard this today. He had a whole host of comments we'll get to from a couple of days ago, but this one I heard today. Bruce Arena wants to embrace the media. He said this on Extra Time Radio on MLSsoccer.com. He said he wants he didn't do this right the first time. He says he wants that Americans to know his national team players and know who they, what they look like, who they are, their stories, know them personally. They'll feel like they know them personally. He thinks that they should use different media outlets, whether it be social media or traditional media, to get fans to know who these guys are. I think this is great. I think a lot of, especially we know who these guys are, but casual fans who get into the World Cup every 4 years, they're basically learning a whole new team a lot of the time, where they might know, I know Clint Dempsey, but it's great. And it's one of the ways we can build the game is by getting more people to actually care. So I think this is a good thing.
So next week, Bruce Arena live on USfanTV.
Yeah. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him, guys. Yeah, it's just surprising coming from him, a guy who is so he's a giant curmudgeon when it comes to the press. But he did a podcast with Grant Wall this week that I thought was good. He opened up a little bit, and maybe, like TJ said, maybe we have a Bruce Arena 2.0. And he's going to do some things a little bit differently. He did say he made a bunch of mistakes his first time around, which is something that you do want to hear, I think, because it shows a willingness to learn from your mistakes, unlike his predecessor. So I think this is good.
Well, Klinsmann didn't make any mistakes, so what did he have to learn from? If the players had just done their job, I mean,
it was Ali Bedoya's fault that he couldn't play holding mid. Brazil.
I see. While we're on MLS here, Ricardo Vera asks if MLS is growing. The match between Toronto and Montreal was wonderful. Do you believe next year the MLS champion has an opportunity to win the CONCACAF Champions League and play in the World Club Cup?
Absolutely not. No.
I think the top level Mexican.
Yeah. I think so long as the money is still in League MX, you're going to see they're still going to be better. And realistically, until I don't know, either there's enough money to make the rosters deeper in MLS, or there's enough money in, say, CONCACAF Champions League that they're not going to focus on it enough to make it a priority.
It also hits at a weird time in the MLS schedule where it's in the preseason. Which I think screws a lot of things up, especially when you get to the latter stages of it. It's in the preseason, and yeah, MLS top level salaries are there on par with Mexico, but bottom level, it's a joke. And so that's where it's the depth of those squads that I think keeps the MLS teams alive, which is why you never see it. I mean, it was great seeing Montreal make it a couple of years ago, but I don't see it happening. I mean, it could. I mean, there's always, Leicester won the Premier League, but the Cubs won the World Series. It could happen. You just, especially in a tournament that, small, but I don't think it will, at least not for a while.
Well, and the other part with, obviously it hits in an awkward part of the MLS calendar, and if I recall correctly, something I read last year was MLS can't get together any earlier because of their collective bargaining agreement. The players need to be, and there is a simple fix to that in my opinion, and that is if they come into camp early, they start receiving their annual salary on a weekly, monthly basis early, and that doesn't count against the cap, and that's how you can get these guys in earlier to prepare for this. That's
a good idea.
That seems logical.
Which of course means MLS it will never happen.
Right. But yeah,
until the Galaxy somehow need it.
Right.
Bruce also talked a couple of things about the central midfield. He wants a better passer, kind of at the top of the midfield, and he wants Bradley to go back to being Michael Bradley full time. Guys, thoughts on that? I think the Bradley thing is something that's been evident for a while that we need to do. As far as the better passer goes, I don't know who that is, but I agree. Maybe it's Christian Pulisic. I don't know.
Well, I think from the other things Arena said, it's not going to be Pulisic. I think he made it pretty clear that he doesn't want him as the number 10, which as I've stated here numerous times, I'm totally on board with. While long term that may be his position, for the time being, while he's young and quick and smaller and has speed and everything, get him outside where he can create more out there. And we have guys who can fulfill at least part of that 10-ish spot. Now, I'm kind of curious. Well, I was going to bring him up, but one of the things I was going to say was, I couldn't tell if he was subtly knocking Kleshton by saying, we don't have enough good passing in the middle, or if it was subtly knocking Klinsmann for not playing Kleshton in the last couple games. I suspect it may be that, but I think there's a good chance we're going to see several guys probably in the January camp beyond even Kleshton who could fulfill that position. I assume that means, Benny. Because he did talk about a couple of domestic players who are very good. I think you could see Sebastian Letchet, right? Is that how you pronounce it? I can never remember. And I think Lee Wen. So I don't have the old chat up to see who that was, but our friend who loves Lee Wen, I think there's a good chance he's probably going to be in that mix. That gives you at least 4 guys who can play that.
Speaking of mix, does he call him mix?
I didn't even think about it.
No,
didn't even think about mix actually.
Mix can't even get on the field with NYCFC. Are you kidding? No, absolutely not. He's got to. Again, it's back to the simple premise. If you want to play, you better be getting game minutes. And Mix was not getting game minutes with NYCFC. So now my question is, if they bring in Benny, does Benny bring the Jets with him?
I think that's automatic.
Okay. Benny and the Jets. I hope it's the Bismarck Key version though, because that one's way better. Benny and the Jets.
All right. Do we want to talk about the NASL mess that's going on and hand the keys over to TJ for this?
Oh God, thanks, Chris.
And go.
All right. So
3, 2, 1.
So NASL, let's just say.
Wait. Before you start, I do want to do. I was gonna say soccer bowl, the toilet bowl.
I was just gonna say it's a dumpster. The NASL right now is a complete dumpster fire. Rayo OKC is gone. Fort Lauderdale, you're not hearing anything on them. They're probably gone. And the New York Cosmos, I believe, are shutting the doors. If they haven't yet, they will be shortly. The rest of them, during the NASL meetings this past week, they were in negotiations. Apparently, Sunil was there trying to negotiate a truce between the NASL and the USL. However, the problem is that Bill Peterson does not want to, thinks he holds all the cards because he's with the NASL. Truth be told, he doesn't hold any cards. His league's a dumpster fire. As it stands right now, as I read on Twitter this evening, it sounds like they may go dark for 2017 and try and come back in 2018 with adding Chicago, San Diego, Detroit City FC. But that said, rumors are that Jacksonville, Carolina, I believe Puerto Rico as well, are all looking for a life raft in USL to join Tampa Bay and Ottawa. And I believe San Francisco is also looking for the life raft into USL. If NASL goes dark in 2017, I think it's over. I don't see it coming back in 2018. The Cosmos reported today they lost $10 million this past year. That was refuted. However, the rumor is since they've been back, they've lost over $30 million. Twitter, of course, is absolutely shitting itself and saying this is the problem. It's MLS's fault. This is Sunil's fault. It's USSS's fault. It's everybody's fault, but the Cosmos' fault. Now, I don't understand this concept for the simple reason, if you are making $1 and you're spending $2, eventually you have to pay that back. That seems to be how most things work. The Cosmos didn't believe they had to do it. Although the NASL, you could probably rename the league Cosmos and Friends. So
that's how they'd like to do it.
Well, that's essentially what it was. If you're not running a budget anywhere close, and you have even if you are the most marketable team in the United States, they have the biggest brand name globally, but nobody shows up. You're playing on Long Island on a field that has lacrosse or football lines year round, and you get 50 people to show up. I don't care if you're the Cosmos or not, you're not going to survive. The NASL final, the championship game, was it available online? No. If you didn't get CBS Sports Network, you couldn't watch it. CBS Sports Network barely streams online, so you couldn't catch it streaming if you did get the channel. And it was played in a stadium. Yeah, it wasn't. It was St. John's University. However, it had a stadium of less than 2,000, and even that looked like it had some empty seats. So, like I said, NASL, it's a dumpster fire. I don't know. What do you got? What's your guys' take? You guys watched a lot of soccer. I don't know how much NASL you guys watched or what's your take on it, but who's to blame? Like I said, I think the blame is the fact of you need to have a budget, stick to a budget, and you need to have some rules. This is why MLS has survived for 20 years. They saved yes, the salary cap sucks, but it saves the owners from themselves, especially early on until you're established.
I think there's an element of that. I do think, though, that it's more ego behind the Cosmos than anything. I mean, the real problem, and money is just, I think, a further example of that. I think the real issue is that they don't want to accept that they're in a second-tier league. They want to keep operating as though they're a first-tier team, but they're not. And nothing's going to change that. I don't think there's once they kind of missed out on the NYCFC entry. I can't see a third team coming to New York before a number of other cities have teams. And it may be that when they've capped the MLS entry, to take a team from somewhere else if they ever want to get a third team. I don't know that Long Island needs a team, and essentially that's what they were trying to do. So, I mean, even to say they have the best brand, do they anymore? I don't know. I mean, you were dead for effectively 30 years. So you can say whatever you want, but there's a reason they were out of business. There's a reason they couldn't come back or didn't come back for so long. I just think, supposedly they say they need a stadium and a league.
Those are key. Those are vital.
Yeah. I also remember how Milwaukee would have had an MLS team 10 to 12 years ago if it just had a stadium and a league. Like, you could say that about anything. I'd have an MLS team if I just had a stadium and a league.
Now, let me ask this question to you, Chris, because you referenced NYCFC. Was NYCFC, the creation of NYCFC, the biggest fuck you at the Cosmos possible? There were negotiations with MLS to join, but Cosmos, of course, wanted to play by the Cosmos rules, which they always have. So MLS said no, fuck you. Went and got what was it? Is it Saudi or Kuwaiti money? And said, here, we're gonna put a team in New York. Fuck you.
I don't know the details enough to say yes, absolutely, but I think there was absolutely a part of that. It had to be. I mean, just thinking about the natural ways of people. I think it certainly had to be a portion of it. I think the Cosmos have kind of shown who they are. I mean, they're not to get all political here, but they're Donald Trump. They're like pure ego, and they just want what they want, and they keep acting like they can demand it, and they don't have a leg to stand on anymore. Maybe in 1984 you had a chance, but your league went away.
They're not even the same team. They're the logo identity of a team. It's like the Cosmos are like Sears. They were great a long time ago, and everybody liked them. Now they suck. And they're trying to hang on based on their past greatness, and it's not working. So
yeah,
I don't feel bad for them. And the argument that we could have had if Pro Rel was available, they would have survived, maybe, because maybe they would have been able to spend their way into MLS. But the fact is that wasn't available to them, and they still spent like it was. They knew the rules they were playing with. So I don't want to see a league go away, but at the same time, I don't necessarily think it's a terrible thing that the NASL is going to go away. The USL is doing pretty good. It's got some really strong franchises, and they seem to be doing things the right way. And if the USL can take on the NASL clubs that want to play by rules, screw the Cosmos. I don't care. We don't need the Cosmos. They're not. I mean, if you were to ask somebody in Europe, name one American soccer club. One, I shouldn't say American because we had a commenter who said that America is Canada on down to Argentina. Although I think you could get away with saying American for people from the United States.
I've made that. I've argued that point for years. I'll let it slide now. I haven't commented on it.
One soccer club from the United States, they're going to name the LA Galaxy. They're not going to name the Cosmos.
And that depends on your age and where. I think there's a larger portion of this globally that would recognize the Cosmos because of Pele. I know it's 40 years ago, 30, or it's almost 40 years ago now, but Pele still holds. He's still quite famous, and I think that's why the Cosmos brand.
I think I've heard of that guy once or twice.
Yeah, he was pretty good in his day, but let's go back to this whole NASL. If there's Pro Rel, they survive. Look at the NASL. Look at their owners. Look at where their money comes from. I know everybody says Pro Rel is about competition. It's not. And USSF are having their rules saying to be Division II, you have to have stadiums, you have to have this, you have to have that. There's a reason why. They want stability. There's a reason why, unless you have more money than God, like the NYCFC does, and being able to play in Yankee Stadium, they want a soccer stadium or at least a plan for it. There's a reason for it. You look at the MLS, these guys and their money, they're not stupid. Take a look at the ownership. There is more money than God in MLS ownership. In, Uncle Phil out in L.A., in, who's up in Seattle? Paul Allen, I know, is involved with that ownership group at some level. Arthur Blank down in Atlanta.
Don't forget Stan. Understand?
Stan, who spends money on nothing but, well, not even, he doesn't spend it at Arsenal, that's for damn sure.
Fourth place Stan.
But it's still ahead of Spurs.
Always.
So, but look at the money in MLS. They have a lot of owners that have more money than God, and they don't make that kind of money by making stupid decisions. They set it up initially because of what happened with the NASL, so that they saved themselves from themselves, which is, in sports happens. Owners compete just like everybody else. If you gave Jerry Jones a blank checkbook, he'd spend everybody under the table.
He doesn't have a blank checkbook?
I don't know if Jerry Jones can see a checkbook anymore, but that said, he would spend everybody under the table. And MLS made sure that didn't happen early. Could they loosen the purse strings a little bit? Yes. That's why they keep making all these rules that even lawyers don't understand. But it does protect them from themselves, ultimately. And the single entity, everybody says, well, they're just playing inter-squad scrimmages, and you see some of that shit on Twitter. Now I'm going to rant a little bit.
Okay.
Now, okay, this will be
just now.
Yeah, just now. The reason why they set that up is for nothing more than collective bargaining. If you guys are old enough to remember when baseball got nailed with collusion. MLS set it up where they could legally collude. That's all they set up. It's done for collective bargaining reasons so they can fight the union all the way through. It's nothing more than that. Anybody who tries to read more into it is looking for something that's not there. So anyway, end of rant. NASL had a shitty business plan. That's why they're struggling. That's why teams went away. That's why they're jumping ship to USL. USL has a better business model. They try to reduce their travel costs, which I get it. There's something cool about seeing New York and LA play. I get it. But when you're trying to do it on a shoestring budget, New York to LA is a really, really expensive trip when you're talking taking an entire team. Therefore, that said, LA to Sacramento to Seattle, a little bit more affordable. So, all right, let's move on. What do you got next? What's next, Pat?
That's what I have. Did we not cover anything that you guys want to cover?
Well, the one thing I would say about ProRel, while we've kind of discussed it here, the real problem with it, the reason I think it's a stupid argument to make, because frankly, I mean, if you give me the option, I'd like to have it too.
Yeah, that's what I've said. It'd be nice, but
the problem is, I think it has to. You have to start the game from a grassroots level doing that, because the problem is no owner is going to buy in a $20, $50, $100 million franchise, whatever the hell it is you have to now have to get a franchise plus the stadium and everything, and then go wait. So there's a chance that I could be basically an amateur next year? No, nobody's going to do it. You had to start this 100 years ago, and it just happened organically. Well, you can't do this as an add-on. I mean, hell, I'd like to see it in Major League Baseball. I think it would actually make baseball more fun, because I can't stand baseball most of the time anymore. But it would suddenly make, I don't know, teams like Milwaukee have something to actually play for, because they're never going to win a World Series. So what the hell do the fans ever have to root for? Just, I don't know, to not see some other team win?
We never thought the Cubs would win the World Series.
True, but
it only took them 108 years.
In 100 years, anything could happen. So my point is just, it gives those smaller level teams something to play for, because even if they're crap in their year at the top level, they have next year to come back, or they have they'll bounce down. They'll look awesome down there for a year. They get to win something, and at least you have, even if it's just those kind of years where you're floating back and forth, it at least engages the fans, because otherwise the fans in the bottom of the league don't have anything to play for. And Section 8 for the Fire becomes a section of 8.
But let me, again, now I'm going to go back to money, because it always comes down to money. Let's look at the Champions League. Let's look at even what the English Premier League is trying to do. Are they trying to make more pro-rel? Look at the Champions League. They're making sure there's more guaranteed spots for big games. Because let's face it, as much as I love watching the Champions League, if it's a game with a team from Croatia,
I was gonna say.
against anybody, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
But when it's Arsenal against PSG, yeah, I'm gonna watch it. If it's Real Madrid and Dortmund, I'm gonna watch it, and they know, and which ones make more money, and that's, at this point, soccer is no different than any other sport. It's as much about business on the top end as it is about the competition on the field. That's why, and that's all sports. That's why Darren Rovell is as popular as he is, because sports business is now a mainstream idea as opposed to just the competition on the field. When we were kids, we were old enough where that really wasn't as much of a deal. It is now, though. When you start talking about how you're branded, how you're marketing, what kind of global footprint you have, versus this guy's really good. And I think that's the trend in soccer. It's not moving towards pro-rel. It's moving away from pro-rel. And I'm going to guess in the next 20 years, England has some sort of cap on pro-rel where it's X number of teams in the top 3, 4. There'll still be some internal pro-rel, but it won't be all the way through. And I see that and that's going to happen with the Champions League as well.
The only way I could see MLS doing is if it gets to like 40 teams, you've got to do something. And so they may do a 30 and 10 or 25 and 15 or something like that, where it's easy to get back up if you're willing to just play by.
Would it go that way? Would it go that way, or would it go more the way of USL, where you have an East and a West, and you don't play until the East doesn't play the West till you get the championships?
I don't like that. I never liked, the baseball had an American League and a National League that didn't play each other, because you're if I want to see Jordan Morris play in Chicago next year and he's not coming, Well, it bothers me. I want the chance to see some of the players from these other teams and see some of these other teams. And if they're not going to come at all, well, that kind of sucks. So no, I wouldn't like that.
But I agree. You look at England, and we use England because that's an easy example. Because every English Premier League game is on TV or streaming somewhere. You get to the championship. There's a bunch of games between Fox and I think BN has games. You'll see a bunch of them on TV. So in the championship, you can make enough money, I believe, to survive. But you start looking down at League One. You look down at League Two. You get down to the English National Conference or whatever. You start seeing crowds of 1,000, 2,000, which you see in USL. Is that to build those kind of clubs? Like you get clubs like Leicester, you get clubs like Bournemouth. They needed cash to get there first, and that's where it comes down to. It's more about business as it is on the field.
TJ, I'm sure you have a favorite team in the conference in England, like the 8th tier or something like that. You have their jersey.
I have Guernsey. They are the 7th or 8th division. They're Ryman South Conference. That's first league out of professional. I started following Dagenham and Redbridge when they were still League Two, because they were the cheapest team on FIFA that year, and so I used them and won the Champions League with them. And that's actually you want a conversation that'll last a while. Bring people in and ask them which teams do they follow because they've used them on FIFA.
Yeah, actually, that's probably fair. I see AA69ist asks or comments on Mexico's U17 and U20 league have really worked to get all the talent into the first league. I think we should copy that model rather than have too many teams in leagues, or at least a second division, it looks like he's saying. I think that kind of fits in with what we're saying. I mean, USL certainly has a place, but the idea that we're going to see, promotion relegation between it and MLS or NASL should it find some way to actually magically survive?
And I might be a millionaire tomorrow.
If you are, you could probably buy the Cosmos.
I don't have that much money to buy him out of debt.
No, I think that's a good point. And part of what we want to see is certainly more of these young guys get opportunities. I know that's part of the idea. That's part of the reason why MLS hasn't just opened the checkbook so that you can buy anyone. When the Galaxy want to go buy someone, they certainly change the rules so they can. But overall, part of the reason for keeping salaries and rosters controlled is to give young players more opportunities. The idea is that you're going to see more young guys get a chance to play. We're going to improve American players. I think that's even part of like Bruce's recent clarification on his statements about foreign players playing for the U.S. or foreign-born players, dual nationals, which he says he'll no longer call them. I think the point behind it is we have to grow American players into world-class players. We can't just keep importing world-class players from someplace else. It wasn't that he was saying, "Oh, we shouldn't have guys who were born in Germany play for us." I mean, hell, look at how much he had Pablo Mastroeni play. He certainly used foreign-born players before, but I think the point is, we need to see more growth in U.S.-born guys, or at least U.S. developed players.
Right. I get a lot more excited about a U.S. developed player than I do.
Yeah. Well,
everybody's welcome, but I'm a lot more excited about Pulisic than I am Julian Green, because Pulisic cut his teeth here, Julian didn't. So, and Julian was born here, but grew up in Germany. So yeah.
Kind of like who's the guy from Norway who used to play with Dempsey at Fulham? He was the defender. God, I can't think of his name, but they were both born in Nacogdoches. But that guy grew up to because his dad was like an oilman or something, and went back to like Norway or whatever.
Well,
yeah.
And you were referencing USL as a development, and you look at USL. Every MLS side has to be partner with or have their own USL side. And I'm guessing in the next 5 years it'll be mandated that they all own a USL side. I could see that happening in the simple fact of, and then you start looking, and you're talking about the LA Galaxy. I know you guys don't venture too often into USL, but take a look at Los Dos once in a while. You'll see guys like Bradford Jamieson. You'll see guys like Zard. I remember seeing Zardes coming up with Los Dos. Bradford Jameson. There's another guy and I forget now. I'm going to forget his name, but they have guys that are constantly coming up and making into their first team. And like I said, you watch Zardes make that jump all the way through. I think that's going to start being the trend. You look at Red Bulls too. You look at Bethlehem Steel, which is the Unions. You're going to see the guys that are going to be the future. That's where you're going to start seeing 16, 17, 18-year-olds, as opposed to going to college. They're going to be able to get a pro contract and a living, and they can start. It's not huge. It's not a great living, but it's a chance to get to play at a lot better level than you're going to play at Marquette, SIU, Edwardsville, SLU. Sorry, Chris, Evansville. You know it, and that's
mighty UE.
Wow. And yet we were good. And if we want to talk about former David Reggie, Ernie Stewart, I think David Reggie passed the citizenship test by saying this is a sentence. So the old story goes.
One last thing we need to talk about. I wrote a story for a website called USfanTV.com. It's a very good website that you should check out on your computer. And I talked about the 9 best jerseys the United States of America has ever worn. And TJ, you took great.
I got several of them right.
What did I get wrong? What did I miss? And don't say the denim because it wasn't good. It was a terrible kit. It was awesome in its own way, but
no, overall, I thought it was pretty solid. You read it back to me because I don't have the list in front of me, or I can look the list.
I don't have the list in front of me either. But number 1 was the Centennial.
And that I didn't agree. And that was, I think, where I started with disagreeing.
Number 2 was the Waldo, and that's the one I would actually like to see us go back to.
That's the one that I think should be our standard jersey.
Yeah, I agree.
From now on.
My problem with the Waldo was that if you wanted a replica, you had to press the numbers on right over the stripes because they didn't leave a white box. And if you wanted the authentic, you wanted to pay extra money for that. You had to have numbers on there because otherwise you had a giant white box. So that was an issue, but otherwise I love that jersey. Number 3 was the what?
Was that Don't Tread? No, it was
Tread. Yeah,
that's bacon or Don't Tread on Me.
I also had the 2006 with the white with the giant crest on it. The 2002 white that we wore when we yes, let's. That is the.
If I don't fall over trying to stand up here.
All right. If
this one.
Yes, that's the 2006 white. I like that one.
Yep.
I had the 2002 white. I had the 1994 white, the bacon.
The bacon jersey. I like that. I like that nickname.
I don't have the one hanging behind me right now to show.
That is a good one. I had a few. The Bomb Pop was on there, which I it's a weird one, but I liked it. So.
No, by and large, I really agreed with the list. I would have put the denim on there just because I don't know. There was something about that jersey. I wouldn't have put the Centennial number 1. I disagreed with that.
I disagree with that one as well, actually.
The Don't Tread on Me to me has always been my favorite, and that's kind of because as a jersey collector, that is the unicorn. And nowadays I think on eBay, they start at about $500, and I can recall a decade ago bidding on one and watching it go from $100 to $300 in about 3 minutes when it was on there at the end. When they were.
Yeah, I have one, and I don't, like I said in the piece, I don't wear it because it's now worth so much money that I'd be afraid to spill on it or something. So it sits in my closet, but it's there and I love it.
I would have. To me, number 1, and I don't know if it'll be popular or not, would have been the complete collection of I want to say was it the 2010 with the sash? That collection, to me, that was the identity we should have stayed with. I love the Waldo as much as I love the Waldo jersey. That's the one, Chris. Yeah, that one.
Those were great because the sash harkens back to the 1950s.
This.
Correct.
Yeah, those are great. Those are great. And then with the white one there, you've got the Go USA Landon Donovan goal. I would have made the white sash navy
on that jersey and stuck with that,
Yes.
and made that your base. Change your stripes, change your whatever, change your fringe so you can sell more shit. But I thought that was the pattern they should have stayed with.
Yeah, the Dutch managed to sell a new orange jersey every couple of years, even though we know it's going to be orange. So I don't think we need to pick something and not screw with it too much. Whether it's the
Right
Waldo
here.
or what. So
Right here.
Waldo. Yep. I've got the Waldo still. I actually have the blue with the white pinstripes, the royal blue one. Chris, you got that one somewhere?
I hated
I do not. That's actually one of them. I never really liked it. I didn't understand why we did it. That was what the 2007 Gold Cup, right?
Right.
I remember discussing it. I remember when you got it, TJ. You keep moving your mic, so everything's getting scratchy. Yeah. I remember when you got it, and I remember thinking, like, I just don't get it. I mean, it's not as bad as the women in their lime green. What the hell was Nike even doing? Like, why give them that? Good old lime green, like the fringe on a flag.
Yeah, it was
chartreuse.
And of course,
terrible.
that's when they won the World Cup in. So it's ridiculous.
So I guess to answer the long story,
we're getting a lot of discussions about jerseys, a lot of comments. I can't send my comment. AA69ist talking about burning out Pulisic because we're giving him too much pressure or making two guys carry the team at too young of an age. What I was trying to comment while we were talking here was that I actually think you have a point there. I think the weight of carrying the team for so long was why Donovan struggled for so long. It's why his 2006 World Cup wasn't very good, I think. And I really think that may be part of what's wrong with Bradley, too. If you look at it, when did Bradley kind of fall apart? Right after Donovan was taken off the team. So when suddenly the team was completely on him, I mean, he'd been carrying the team since 2009, but he got to share the weight of it. He didn't have to carry U.S. soccer on his back. That was still on Donovan. So, he just had to carry the team. It becomes a lot less. When suddenly you have the pressure of, like, all of U.S. soccer on you, plus the game, I think it just becomes too much for these guys. You have to truly be a special player. I mean, you got to be like Messi, and even then, look at the trouble Messi has replicating his form in an Argentina jersey. I think it's too much to carry all that. So I think there's a real good point that don't put all this on Pulisic right now. Let him be let him be like the diamond that can go shine while somebody else does all the heavy lifting and does the dirty work.
Well, let's see. We have Bruce back in charge. Let's look at 2002 again. Who did Landon Donovan and DeMarcus Beasley have around them when running the center of the park? You had Claudio Reyna. Now you're looking at Christian Pulisic coming up. Who's going to be running the center of the park? Michael Bradley. I think he's going to be fine because there are other players. Deuce should be. Hopefully, we'll have Deuce back by then. You still have Jozy Altidore. I don't think it's going to be over pressure on him because there's going to be some veterans who have been down this road before, and you need to have that so the special talent, like you said, can go out. Well, you look back at Bruce in 2002. Landon was wide. DeMarcus Beasley was wide. You didn't have them trying to run the center of the park, and if you can do that with Christian, I think you've got some chances in 2018 because nobody's going to expect a damn thing from him at this point.
Well, and one of the things I saw a lot of people talking about in terms of what's the future, especially like after Bruce's comments about wanting a better passer in the center of the field, is he had Claudio Reyna there for so long. Like, really, when we kind of fell apart in 2006, it's that too much was stuck on Reyna. He was playing too deep. I mean, the Ghana game, he got handcuffed with the ball basically at the top of the box. That's how we ended up with that their first goal. And then it was just that bullshit penalty on Gooch after that screwed us over. But realistically, he got handcuffed with that ball at the box when, yeah, he was supposed to be a deep lying playmaker. He wasn't necessarily supposed to be an in our own box playmaker. So I think, had Claudio been a couple years younger or something where he could have played a little bit longer or played a little bit longer with some of the players like you see now, we might have been a much different team. Maybe 2010 would have been a different story even. It wouldn't have just been the moment of elation that we got from the Algeria game, but maybe it wouldn't have been that England outplayed us but couldn't beat us. It would have been like we actually could have stood with them in that game.
Now I want to go back to 2006 because I've got a question for both of you. You guys are both better historians of the U.S. national team than I am. How different is 2006 with a healthy, not injured every 20 minutes John O'Brien?
Oh, I think we would have been. I think we would have been much closer to the number 4 or whatever that we were ranked in the world at the time, like our bullshit ranking there. With him out there, I mean, I'm not sure. Like I heard or I read someone the other day talk about how they actually stand by Claudio Reyna is the best player the U.S. has ever produced. I don't know if I believe that, but he's certainly, I think, in the top 5 at least. I think it's so hard to say. Like, I wouldn't give John O'Brien a spot in the Hall of Fame if I was like naming team Hall of Famers or something. Like if it was like selecting guys for Canton or Cooperstown or something like it is for the NFL or major leagues, but because he played for so little time, but the potential he showed before all the injuries, I think he could have been the best player we've ever seen, the best player the U.S. ever produced, and that includes the guys who, like Rossi, went to play somewhere else.
All right, crew, yes. We talked about Guzan to MLS at the start of the program. We even talked about you, buddy. I mentioned that you wanted him to go to Columbus. And we did not talk about, briefly we should, the baby neck. The U17s destroyed Portugal yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
While the Toronto and Montreal Poutine derby was going on, they absolutely ran Portugal out of the park in Florida. U.S. Soccer had the whole thing on YouTube. I watched part of it. There was one string of like 14 straight passes that led to a goal at one point. They looked amazing. So, yeah.
Now, how much of that was Portugal's top U17s? That'll be one of the questions I have.
No idea. So yeah, maybe Portugal sent nobodies, but I mean, why? At that level, I think you do try to send your best.
How many
club schedules that are that important?
We play Turkey tomorrow, I believe. I don't have the schedule in front of me, and Brazil on Sunday. So it will be interesting to talk on Monday to see what they've pulled off, because I do think 2018, maybe 2022 will be the first time we're really looking at guys who presumably have come of age with better coaching or with the opportunity to go play overseas and receive better coaching. Our problem has always been, and this is one of the things that some of the comments we're getting on up on YouTube here about our youth development. We've always been good to like 14. I mean, hell, Freddie Adu may have been as good as Lionel Messi at 14. They just didn't go well, or whatever age Freddie Adu really was. But the point was we've not progressed from 14 to like 22. That next 6, 7, 8 years, 9 years, whatever in there, we fall off because we send kids to high school. They send kids off to go train soccer every day. We send kids off to go make sure they know how to like do calculus, so they have a job when they grow up. These guys, and it works for 90% of them. I mean, Lionel Messi.
That's where a lot of
that guy,
because they've only focused on their entire life.
Yeah.
You hear an English player. You hear Donovan speak. He's all intelligent and stuff, and he didn't even go to college. But you hear an English player speak. A lot of times they're idiots, but
yeah.
They've been focusing on one thing their entire life. So, I mean, and that's what it takes. You're right, to get that jump from 14 to 18, 19, where we fail so much of the time. They don't, because, they're doing what Pulisic did, going to play soccer first and then school second. Maybe not the best long-term decision for an individual, but it's certainly the best for developing soccer players. So it's a gamble you got to take, I think. Anything else? Are we ready to wrap this show up? I think we are.
Yeah, I'm checking any more comments. We've been getting a number. Yes, crew. We talked about Guzan going to MLS. Did you guys just discuss that while I was playing with jerseys there? Okay.
Yes.
I couldn't hear everything while I was.
Some things. Some of you guys have been putting our stuff on Reddit, which is awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
That helps a lot. We get a lot more notice when people do that. So go do that if you want to. The Twitter, I always do this thing. It's right there. We put things on the Twitter all the time. The website is USfanTV.com. Like I said, I put up this piece about the 9 best jerseys we've ever worn. Everybody thinks I'm wrong. Go read it and tell me how wrong I am. I don't care. It's part of the fun, right? Yeah, that's our show. Guys, Chris, TJ, thank you. We'll see you. I think we're going to do it Monday night. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Unless news breaks.
Yeah, Monday night we should be able to talk about the 17s against Turkey and Brazil. So you guys, I think it's Fox Sports that it's on. It would take too much work for me to try and look it up while I'm talking here, so
Fox Sports.
I can't say for sure. But yeah, check it out, and then we can discuss it together come Monday night.
All right, go USA. See you guys.
Good night.